Well, we fed the horses, the goats. Now I'm in the river out the back 40, first light. But I don't know if I can fish this thing or not. I think the river is ripping. So, hike down and see. I think all the rocks that I stand on are covered by water. I don't know. We'll find out. Not much snow left right here. Wow. That river is high, man. This might be a retreat. Abort and retreat, maybe. Hope not. This is where those bear tracks were easily seen with all the snow here, but you see there's no snow now, and that's why the river's ripping. I might be able to pull it off. And that river is ripping. It's not even light out yet, and I'm on my way home again. It's a little dicey there. If I slipped off that rock I was on, probably wouldn't have turned out too good. So I took a few casts anyway. The river's just too high. I can't even see the rocks that I normally stood on in that spot. And reason being, there's a big, somewhat of a melt going on at these lower elevations, and there was a few feet of snow around here, and it's really melting fast. And that river right there is fed by a pretty big lake. And that lake's fed by various mountain streams, so who knows when it'll be fishable again. But I'm patient. Tell you what, I'm craving my mountain time. I need to get in the mountains bad. As long as I can get out of the house anyway. It's funny, I walked out of the house to go feed the horses in the dark this morning. I probably passed within 10 feet of a deer. My backyard didn't even see it. Then I came back and it was standing there again. Still, so I videotaped it. What are you doing? Huh? You coming fishing? Hey? Have your little snack? Hmm? Goofy little thing. Funny little buggers. Now, what do we got? Let's get right into it. Listen to this. Haida knowledge. Why governments kept wild man a secret. Capitalism. Steve, sorry I sent my initial contact to the wrong email address. I am a Haida from Haida Gwaii. That was also previously known as Queen Charlotte Islands, if anybody's not familiar. West coast of BC, but halfway up the province. While I appreciate the forum, I feel that I needed to write. I do give permission to use the stories, and my father-in-law is now with the spirits with his wife, who was waiting for him and his boys. Thank you for providing a forum of learning, that is why I'm sharing here and now. If you're a wild person who has nothing but time to live and explore every inch of your territory and gather food, you'd probably find those areas in our shared world where the laws and physics may be stretched thin. A man might take advantage of those spots when traveling. If you were to try to hide continually, as some stories purport, having some who are not agitated use mind speak to share with different people who have had the wool pulled off their eyes to see Sasquatch as real, and that the bad ones use those doors, could signify that there are ones who have bad personalities just like us. So, we should feel scared of those bad ones, but luckily they are few and far between. We have been in many of the same places at different times or close. I spent time in Squamish, the Hurley, Braylorn, Pemberton, Sunshine Coast, Vancouver Island. Many of these places have a history of wild men. Actually, all of them do. You're right. I also live in Quesnel. Hunted all over the Caribou, Chilcolton, and the Nass Valley. Lots of emails from Quesnel. I feel that as a First Nation person who did go to university for 3 years, I gained a critical mind, more how to critique than be just critical. First, you learn in business school from political science. Business is why governments were formed, to facilitate the rules of trading on a national, provincial, local rules of trade are the main official goal of government. Capitalism is the first fact government is never for people. By virtue of that fact, any other than business-minded in politics is socialism or worse, communism. Just like religion is used to control the masses and even to make them have wars. This is why hide the truth that Sasquatch is real from people. Money and access to raw materials for capitalism unfettered by rules to save wild man, Sasquatch. Thick natural resources, mining, oil, woodcutting, uncontrolled, are all reasons to not be truthful and hide their existence. What is an attachment is true to the best of my recollection. Hopefully, what I shared can help people understand both why government is, what reason they would have to not openly say that this wild man is real and we need to save wild areas for his future life. He is also evidence that man is not the only sentient being on the earth. Just think, an actual Homo sapien, not Homo sapien sapien. We were made from them. They are us, without DNA from aliens, be it God or just an alien intervention. An outside force changing our DNA would not want us to revert our DNA through mating with our old brothers and sisters. So why tell us they're animals because of their size, as in keeping us from mixing our DNA with wild man, original man? Why would aliens not want us to mate with our own self? Think, a 97% DNA match to us from Sasquatch is why the scientists say it is a spoiled test, not thinking this is us, thus avoiding the truth staring them in the face. Bible telling religious. Kevin Yeager, Nung Koyas, Haida Nation, Haida Guai. Kevin, thanks for that email, man. It's gonna get some brains. Spinning. And your email and your message parallels quite a few other messages that have shared the same here on this channel, man. I'm gonna have to dig in my email. My email server is down. I can't access my emails right now. I don't know why. But when I do, I'm gonna dig up your name again. I'll do a search in the inbox, see what else you've sent me. Totally recall you emailing before. And if you can email us again in the future, I'd appreciate that. And share your knowledge, okay? And keep it coming. Interesting. I'm gonna keep going here, you guys. I'm not quite awake yet myself. There's so many experiences, and there's a lot of people who are really tuned in to what's going on, isn't there? A lot. There's a lot of people who keep themselves and have been studying and looking into and figuring shit out. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have been looking into things and figuring stuff out. And there's also varied answers, right? There's varied theories. A lot of different people have spent, quote, half their lifetime or their lifetime looking into it, and those same individuals pitted against somebody else who's put their whole life into this can have opposing views all the way straight down the line, which makes things possibly confusing to a lot more other people, right? Alabama white thing. Why now? Steve, I sent my story before, but I'm sure it's lost in the sea of emails. I decided to write it again, hearing replies to your recent questions that came long after I sent mine. Here goes. Shorter version. Steve, I'd like to share a story as I've heard very few like it. But after hearing a couple stories you shared with this color being, I am motivated to pass this along. When I was 18 years old in west central Alabama, I was taking my girlfriend of the time home one night, traveling northbound on a major highway. To my left is the oncoming traffic lane, a deep drainage ditch, a steep embankment that's maybe 6 foot to the top where it flattens out with rough ATV trail on top of it that wouldn't be much wider than the pickup truck before it hits a solid tree line. While driving 55 miles per hour, I noticed a flash of something catch my eye on top of that hill. As I turned to look, this thing stands up on 2 legs and takes off running the direction I was driving, on top of that plateau. As soon as I was like, what the F, that's not a deer, it zigzags down the hill, and I mean literally zigzags. Not straight down off the hill, and ran directly into the side of my truck. Going under the truck, and my rear driver's side tire runs it slam over. Now here's the kicker. This thing was white all over, like a white, long-haired dog that stays outside and hasn't been bathed. Before impact, its face literally came right up to my driver window, and I was staring this thing in the face less than a foot away. I could have damn near licked it if we were standing still. Keep in mind that while this happened, the whole slow motion thing was going on as it seemed like I stared at it for a few seconds. It had a face that was human but heavily bearded, and due to the lighting conditions, all I can make out are dark circles around the eyes, making it appear like the abominable snowman. I got the impression it was mad by its facial expression. Hair was all long and matted, long enough it was flying and shaking around as it ran. I can't describe how fast this thing moved. It was like something on a movie. I was parallel with it when I saw it, and there's no paragraphs here, okay, you guys, so it's a little difficult for me right now. It's a little early in the morning, too. So I was going, okay. It was like something on a movie. I was parallel with it when I saw it. It had time to run down the hill and run into the side of my truck as I was going 55 miles per hour. It was almost like it wasn't touching the ground, yet I could see its legs moving. My girlfriend saw it perfectly well as I did, and she screamed. It terrified her. She wouldn't let me stop and check it out as she was almost in tears. I pulled over a mile or so up the road at a church to collect my thoughts. I thought I might have run over a woman running from someone, and her hair was just flying all over, because what else could it be running on 2 legs, right? So I went back, got my flashlight, and checked the ditches and didn't find anything but blood. The next morning I told my parents about it and to come out and look at my truck. I was scared to death if I ran over someone. On my truck, there was a large dent in the side of the truck and blood in the rim with white hair that's maybe 2 to 3 inches long. I'm a deer hunter my entire life, and I know what white hair from a deer looks like when you gut shot one. I was going to collect samples and send it to whomever. My dad convinced me that it was a deer that reared up right before impact, making it look white and standing vertical. So that's why I didn't take samples. Interestingly enough, my truck was dusty from normal teenage dirt roads and such. There seemed to be a handprint where it put its hand out to embrace the impact. Imagine dragging your hand down the side of a dusty truck, leaving a 4-finger trail. That night bothered me for months as I was checking the papers constantly for a hit and run in the area. When I was 18, there were no camera phones, and only wealthy people could afford a cell, so I couldn't call for help. No way to take pictures of the hair and blood. I'm 40 years old, and I can remember this like it was yesterday. I have a vivid memory of his face. I found your channel maybe a month ago because it turns out there's a white creature called the Alabama White Fang. I recently found out doing some research for a white Bigfoot. Many sightings in the state of this type of creature. I almost forgot. This creature didn't strike me as being huge. I'd say maybe 6 foot, but definitely not 7 foot or more. Had broad shoulders and slender, like a tall, very fit man. I'm glad my girlfriend was there to confirm what I saw. Nobody's going to tell me this didn't happen. Love what you're doing, Steve. You're the man. Thank you for all the time you put into this. It was an amazing experience. I mean, not only do I see a Sasquatch, but an albino one. Try to pull that off at the deer camp and see what happens. LOL. Just add me to the list of thousands of seers and believers, Steve. I hope many others have seen the same and will share their story now and not feel so stupid to share encounters of an albino Bigfoot. this is the reason for sharing now, because this is a harder pill to swallow than the classic Bigfoot. God bless, and as always, a huge roll tide. Roll tide, for sure. Mark, thanks to that freaking crazy experience, man. I'm sure you know by now, there's been a shit pile of sightings of these beings in the white color phase of hair, right? There's even a very, very credible nighttime video online that's been all over the place of somebody who actually got video of one of those things. A white went in the forest at nighttime, stuck a flashlight in his face, and they got it on video. Real close. It'd be enough to turn your own hair white, being that close to that thing in the timber. But you're not alone, man. You're definitely not alone. It's so common, it's a little overwhelming, right? But you're right. Keep talking. Keep talking. The cat's out of the bag. The cat is absolutely out of the bag. The information's out. The amount of people is absolutely ridiculous. How many people are seeing these things? Gotta scroll through a handful. There's a handful of emails that are saved on here that have to go on the Rumble channel, otherwise we'll get deleted on YouTube if I read them. What's this one? This is a screenshot sent in to me again from the comment section. Alright, this is from a name on YouTube called Viking Robot. My hunting partner and I had 2 experiences with Sasquatch, including getting good pictures of the footprints. Our experiences were a couple of weeks apart, yet it did not keep us from going back to those mountains. We've been back there several times since and haven't had any more encounters there in 15 years or so. Excuse me. Pretty wild how there is talk of this sudden feel of dread feeling, but has anyone else felt a sudden calm feeling? Not just calm, but a euphoric calm, like a dopamine rush. That's the feeling I had twice after both experiences. There is one spot I walked through in one of my hunting spots, and every time I go past there, I feel uneasy to this day. Not sure if it's just the terrain or if there's something lurking up there. And that was the comment. That's a good question. I spoke to a man. I was shoulder to shoulder with Dr. John Bendernagel and we were talking to a man who had such a long, detailed experience, an experience that really helped create a few important questions that I had about this topic that were confusing to me at the time. And what this guy said was, he had this thing behind a tree. First, it was broad daylight, looking at him face to face, and I think he said it was about 20 yards or so. Because I said to him, I go, man, and you had a rifle scope on his face? He's like, yep. 30-06 with a rifle scope on his face. And I said, you must have seen the whites of its eyes. He said, I could see the wrinkles on his forehead. And he said he put the scope from one eyeball to the other eyeball, down to its mouth, and then back up to its forehead when he's looking at it. He said that all of a sudden he was flooded with an absolute calm feeling. He said it just hit him. Everything went calm, and he said he felt absolutely safe and calm and cool. And I can't say that was a dopamine just described feeling, but I vividly remember him saying that. But when he did start to shit himself more, was after his buddy. I won't retell the whole story, but his buddy came up, and his buddy was more of a faster triggered guy, and that Sasquatch jumped behind the tree and was hiding there, but really kind of peeking out. And they both were putting their guns up at it. One guy put the gun up and looking and really hide from his partner. And then he put his gun up, he put his gun down, and it would stick its head right out. And he said it was almost like they controlled it with both guns going like this. And I asked him later, I said, well, is your buddy more of a killer or something? More of a live wire? Yeah, he's definitely more apt to pull the trigger for sure. And he also said that thing jumped behind the tree, and short moments after it jumped behind the tree, then his buddy came up. But his buddy was out of sight before he came up, so that thing knew his buddy was coming without seeing it. Anyway, trying to get to the point. The point is, he felt an absolute feeling of calm, and then he said it absolutely disappeared behind the tree, like they didn't peek out anymore, and then they couldn't see anymore at all. And that's when he said that he felt terrified. That's when I'm frickin' shitting myself, terrified kicked in. But anyway, that's all I know. If somebody knows of the dopamine, the feeling that this emailer wrote in about, maybe address it in the comment section below in this video, and you guys can read and share thoughts on that in the comment section, all right? Interesting. So I'm getting way back in time. These emails I had saved back in October, November. All right, here's one. Mark this as read. Look into the Norse mythology, as I believe Bigfoot is just one of many beings from the tales of Norse mythology. Hello, Steve. How are you doing tonight? My name is Justin. I live in Vermont. I really enjoy your channel. I had an encounter with one of these supernatural beings back in the summer of 2009. It was late July. I was out hiking on Camel's Hump. I was headed back down the mountain. I started to get this sixth sense that something was wrong, like I was being followed. I kept walking down the trail when everything went dead quiet. The air all around me felt electrified. I then felt as though something was staring at me. And when I went to turn to look behind me, I saw a massive hairy being run past me out of the corner of my eye, then saw the massive being leap off this 20-foot drop. When I looked over the edge, the being was gone. Disappeared, and all I could smell was this weird sulfur ion metallic odor. I will never forget that smell or the color of the being's eyes. The eye color was dark blue, and the hair color was dirty blonde, brownish blonde color. I have some other Bigfoot stories that I'll email you in the future, and hopefully you'll share with your viewers. Thank you for sharing my story. I greatly appreciate it. Hope all's well with you and your family. Have a great evening. Take care. My name is Justin Hogginson. I don't care if you share my name. Justin, thanks, man. Sounds a little Norwegian. Bit of a Norwegian name there, man. That's quite the description. I don't think I've heard of a blue-eyed being yet. I don't think. But the disappearing thing, the jumping off. You know what? Everybody's heard about the pilot plane that flew up following Sasquatch tracks way up high in the mountains, all the way up to a peak cliff, and they just ended. Gone. There's lots of people who have seen these things disappear in front of their eyeballs. Hundreds of people have reported that. Why would you wake up in the morning and make that shit up? I haven't a clue. Why would hundreds of people wake up and share that and make that up and share it? I haven't a clue. Do I think people are making it up? No. Not me anyway, but who am I? Kentucky Forest Buddies. Hi Steve, my name is Fred, and I want to get something kind of out there to the so-called Bigfoot experts out there. First off, I want to explain a little about myself. I'm an early retired union roofer. I busted my ass off for my girl and 2 sons for the better part of my life. I got hurt really bad on the job that I was doing about 5 years ago and received a pretty good settlement. I used to be a union roofer years ago. Now I finally was able to move to Pikeville, Kentucky and buy my dream house with about 36 acres on the side of a very heavily wooded mountain. Now for the first 3 months, everything was just going great, and then the noises started in. Like the bangs on the house in the back of my pickup truck, followed by what sounded like a really weird, heavy kind of laughing and giggles. I would open the front door and yell and fire a couple of rounds from my .45 into the air, and then everything would go quiet for a little, and then I would hear this god-awful scream/roar about 200 yards up the side of the property, and then from the opposite end of the property, I would hear this. I guess the best way to explain it was like a really pissed off, sarcastic sounding Chinese man. That chatting would last a few minutes, and then where I heard the roar from, I started hearing it chatter back, but kind of more scornful, I would say. Now, I'm not a skeptic or a fanatic, but I had a good idea what the hell was going on, so that is when I started to try and interact with them. So I tried to walk in the woods as far as I could, but due to my work injury, wouldn't be that far, but it was far enough to see the evidence. Steve, what I saw was the most beautiful, unbelievable tree formations that just blew me away. I'm talking teepee-like things and starburst-type branch things, and there was a bunch of it, I would have to say, 4 or 5 inch diameter, 15 to 20 foot tall trees jammed into the ground totally upside down, with the roots in the air. So the next day, with camera in hand, I went to the area and started leaving assorted fruit and vegetables for them. I'd stay up there for hours on end with multiple camera batteries going dead trying to get them on film. I even purchased multiple trail cameras to put them out and even voice recorders, but to no avail. Nothing. So one day I talked to this old-timer who lived in the area for like forever, and I believe he said he was from the Chickasaw Indian tribe. I hope that I spelt that right. Chicasaw Indian tribe. And he told me that there was a family clan of them that lived in the area, and that more than likely it was the kids that was messing about my house and property, and I told him about the chatters and the giggles and the big roar. He said that the big guy probably was cussing the young ones for smacking my house and truck and for me to not worry about it. I told him about the structures I found up in the hills and how I'm trying to get them on film or a recorder or some kind of proof so my family and friends don't think I'm a kook. I also told I haven't heard anything from them for a while, and that's when he told me that I need to leave the technology at home. He said to get rid of the trail cameras and the recorders and camera and go in there blind with nothing. Treat them with respect. Treat them like I would like to get treated, and to treat them like family. Now, I really don't want to bend your ears off, but to make this a little shorter, I did what he said the next day, and as sure as I'm breathing, I started getting responses. From wood knocks to hooting and what sounded to me like little chihuahua yapping and little giggles. And for the life of me, something that sounded like a woman saying, "Hey." Now that's pretty cool, I thought. Then the gifts started. They would leave me little twig things woven into trinkets on my dashboard of my pickup truck and front steps. Hell, one day my wife opened up the front door, and there on the stoop was a bunch of assorted wild flowers, and right next to it was a pile of mushrooms with wild okra and spinach. Now that wasn't the reason I titled this My Forest Buddies. One day, me and my little chihuahua buddy went up the hillside to leave them some lasagna I made, when Chico, my little chihuahua, froze up and started shivering and whimpering. Off to the right side of us, about 20 yards from us, I saw the undergrowth shaking, and I heard the squeals and snorts, and out came a wild pig tearing ass right for us. But before I could even react, I heard and felt very, very heavy footfall coming up from behind me, and I heard a loud whoosh. And that's when I saw a log about a foot in diameter and about 10 feet long come flying over my head in the direction of the pig, and two huge boulder rocks from above the pig up the hill came crashing down, and between the log and the rocks, it basically wasted him. Holy shit. Now, for all these so-called experts, like blank, I'm not going to say the names that want to be promoted, all right? And that duck-faced lady primatologist from that other reality TV show, who all keep calling these people primates and monkeys and gigantopithecus, I'm so sick and pissed off. Just don't watch them, man. I never have, never do. I didn't know that monkeys or apes know how to leave gifts like flowers and edible mushrooms and vegetables, and how to make and leave woven trinkets on my dashboard of my locked pickup truck, and also how to defend me and my little chihuahua from certain death of a wild pig. These people are not apes or extinct gorillas. They are their own species, and they are highly intelligent. And I'm sure that they have been here before us even. Now, for all of those YouTubers and those so-called experts, if you really want to have a relationship with them, don't try to expose them or be glory hounds for the world to exploit them. They're not stupid. They know your intentions, whether good or nor bad. Don't leave them hanging in the breeze for our rotten piece of shit government to kill them. Remember, they're a family species too. Sure, just like people, there's good ones and bad ones. But from my experience, they're my family too. So, Steve, that's my share, and I hope it opens up some minds, and thanks, Steve, for all that you do. On a separate note, I would love to pay you for your fishing guide services. It'd be cool as F to hang out with you and fish. Thanks again, Steve, for what you do. Wow, that is quite the freaking share, Fred Harvey. Appreciate it, man. Fishing, you never know. I haven't marketed any fishing on here to date. Ooh, that was a gunshot. There's many people who have had these same relationships as you. Many. And a few people share I believe, share their experiences online, including Mike from Ontario. It's really something else, isn't it? I don't know what to say about that myself. My mind's reeling on a various. That gunshot just took me off my train of thought for a quick second there. But I have a feeling if I really felt like it, obviously, I think any one of us, but I have a feeling I could possibly have struck up some kind of interaction with them where I used to live, but I just wasn't too big on it, because when I was years ago, when I was intentionally looking for them, like many people do, with a camera and all the rest of the goodies, possibly being a bit of an idiot, it was made absolutely blatant obvious to me that somebody wasn't happy about that, and they let me know it, and I stopped. Like, okay, I'm good. And then, and that's when I started on my own. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm good. I don't want this ruined for me. I know you're here. You know I'm here. Just leave me alone. And it's somewhat worked out so far. And there's a few clues led me to believe that I could possibly strike up some kind of a similar interactions as you are, but I just haven't. I'm not too stoked on it. You know, the initial terror feeling that I've experienced is still very fresh, the terror, and it's not something that I crave. I don't like being scared. I don't like feeling absolute terror. It's not a comfortable feeling, and I don't want to associate terror and all this for me. So maybe one day, who knows, maybe one day I might seek out that possible interaction, maybe. I don't know, I'm still on the fence, obviously. But anyway, thanks for your email, man. Thanks for sharing that with everybody. There's going to be a lot of people nodding in agreement with you. And there's going to be a lot of people just kind of sitting there gazing at the screen, not sure what to think. And then, of course, you're going to have your small handful of people that just want to shoot one and think they're going to prove to the world by killing something. But meanwhile, I believe most people just have to hurry up and accept the fact that it's been proven numerous times and that it's just not going to be acknowledged publicly by the government. It's just not. What's this? This is titled Important. Very short one. Important. Dear Steve, number one, thank you for holding the door open. Gives everyone a chance to express the truth without repercussions. Number two, there are many events that have happened in my life involving Sasquatch and UFOs, but none are as this thought that woke me straight up out of my bed in the middle of the night. You asked in a prior video, I'm paraphrasing, why does Sasquatch stay so close to us when there are so many areas vast and full of life? One word comes into mind, war. Maybe this needs to be contemplation. Number one, being this close to us leads to the location of us and how many. Number two, studying our habits, vulnerabilities, weaknesses, and strengths. Number three, could it be recon groups? And the list can go on and on. Let's hope that I'm wrong, but what if? Thanks, Vic. Well, I guess that is the other side of the coin, isn't it, Vic? What if? I don't know, man. I mean, my brain's never gone to that thought. I've never thought of that ever. So if I had to sit here and think about that right now, it'd be like, well, I mean, there's all sorts of variables included. First off, you'd have to establish if they're here full-time or not, if they've always been here full-time or not, I don't know. And then you got to think about when the first Europeans came over this continent. When you think if it was about war, don't you think they would possibly have annihilated every single human being that climbed off of that ship onto the shore right off the bat? Although there was reported that the Vikings did go at it with these beings. I believe they went at it with them, or did they just see them? So I don't know. That's something to think about, I guess, isn't it? Different type of question, different type of thought, isn't it? I can't opt out for some breakfast. I gotta go home and eat. My tummy's growling. Got a lot of stuff to do. It's Sunday, and I'll be back later on, and I'm gonna get more voices shared, hopefully from a real cool location.
you.